Welcome to the OASIS Respite Program Volunteer Orientation. I am Sarah Robel, the Executive Director of Causeway Caregivers and the Program Coordinator for OASIS Respite.
And my name's Kelsey Flock. I am the La Crosse County Dementia Care Specialist. My office is out of the Aging and Disability Resource Center, and I'll kind of tell you what I'm doing here today more towards the end of this slide presentation.
So what we wanted to do for our new volunteers and individuals joining OASIS is run through an agenda. Today, we're going to be doing a little bit of the program history, which Kelsey will lead us through, mission and vision, volunteer role and expectations, and then some of the supports.
So for the program history, OASIS started as kind of an idea from community members, caregivers, who were questioning early on when my role came to La Crosse in 2018. Dementia care specialists are across the state. We kind of serve three purposes: supporting caregivers, supporting people with dementia, and supporting the community. And so I was approached by some caregivers just asking kind of what faith communities could do in supporting them to better care for people with dementia. And as we kind of did some research in the community of what other areas were doing, we came across a lot of dementia respite ministries in the South, and then actually a local one just in Black River Falls. And so in my role as dementia care specialist, I called kind of a breakfast meeting together of faith leaders to talk about dementia, talk about how it affects our community, and then ask them if they would be willing to, in their individual churches or faith communities, have a ministry to support something dementia related in the community. And really what I was asking for was a respite, a day respite program, because La Crosse area has in-home respite, we have adult day centers, but there's kind of this transition in between for people with dementia when they aren't safe to be at home alone, but they don't feel appropriate for adult daycare. So there was this gap in services, and a few faith communities said, yes, that's awesome, we would love to support that mission. We formed a small committee of faith leaders who said their churches would be happy to support the program. And then we were looking for who was going to house the program, because the ADRC and the county are not interested in, having a business in this regard. And that was when we stumbled upon Black River Falls, who uses their interfaith caregiver program, which is identical to what Causeway is and what their mission is. And so that's when we approached Causeway, this faith community leaders team, and said, hey, would this work in your mission of supporting caregivers in the community? And I don't know if you want to add to that, Sarah, of how Causeway kind of got on board with it.
Yeah, as Kelsey said, it was bringing the idea to us. Causeway has served the elderly and caregivers in La Crosse County since 1986, and we have had respite programs in the past, and it was a good fit to support not only older individuals, but also their caregivers or their family members. So it was a great fit for Causeway and something that worked well within our mission.
Yeah, and so it really brought all of the parish communities or the faith communities together with kind of a universal connector, if you will. With that being said, we started maybe in a faith based mission, but we are not evangelizing. That's not the purpose. Sarah's going to go through the mission and vision of the program. Each of those church communities might see it as their ministry, but anyone can attend OASIS. Anyone can attend it from outside of La Crosse County. It's a Coulee region event, or Coulee region program. So we've really moved beyond that, but that's kind of how we got started. And I think it's really cool when programs like this come from the community that needs it. So that's really how we got our start.
Mm-hmm. So our mission and vision, the mission of OASIS is to be a caring place along someone's journey. It could be the caregiver's journey of giving support, loving someone as they transition through dementia, Alzheimer's, or other brain-related impairments. And it's a caregiver's role, kind of that role that never ends. Even as we go to bed and wake up in the morning, we're always a caregiver, regardless of our age. And it also is supporting that person that needs that care. We call them our OASIS participants, but our vision is really providing a safe, fun, social environment for our participants to come and spend 4 hours of respite with us. We are looking, while they're with us, our mission is to engage them, to feed their mind, their body, their spirit. We getting active, we're using our brains, we're being creative, we're taking times to nourish ourselves with a nutritious snack, and then we get right back into activities and spending time together. It's not always about the activity, but what happens around that activity. It can be as simple as sharing a cup of tea with someone and just listening to them talk. It can be sharing a craft together or doing a puzzle together, even bowling. We hear stories of dogs and grandkids and great-grandchildren, and that's the part of our vision that we wanted. It is social time. It's connecting with people who otherwise may not have a lot of social time or connection in their home, or with their family, if family doesn't live in the immediate area, or if family are still working or still doing a caregiving role beyond that person that is coming to OASIS. So our mission and vision has always been that social outreach, purposeful participation, finding ways to connect not only with the individuals, but within our community as well. As Kelsey mentioned, we serve the Cooley region. And so there's a lot of diverse populations. There's a lot of diverse cultures, people, stories, and lessons that we can learn and share with each other. And that's part of what OASIS wants. We want to be that caring place that welcomes people of all different backgrounds, ethnicities, and cultures to come and share that time with us and allow their caregivers to have some respite.
And I think I'll just add, I'm sure in your orientation, you'll hear how OASIS is funded and continues to thrive. But when we wrote grants initially to have this started, we really didn't want there to be a distinction between who the participants are and who the volunteers are. It's everyone coming to, I like to call it a club. Everyone's there hanging out together, so that people don't feel like they're there to be entertained. Volunteers should feel as equally a part of whatever's happening. I know when I go there, and I'm sure you'll talk about this next in volunteer role and responsibility, that you're supposed to be having fun too. You're supposed to be participating alongside them with knowing you're still, you know, in a responsible role. But we really want to see this as a club and a community setting, that people don't feel like, oh, they're taking care of me. There's enough of that in their life or future.
So volunteer roles and expectations. As the program coordinator, I am on site when volunteers are participating within OASIS. We do ask that you are dependable and that you commit to at least once a week or a time frame that works well. The biggest commitment that we have is that you're with us that full time of volunteering. So the full offering of OASIS respite time is when we expect our volunteers to be there. We know that life happens. With Causeway, we have had years of experience of knowing that life happens. We can have illness, we can have trips, we can have company coming. That happens, and we know that. So we do schedule our volunteers based on what you tell us. So if you're available every week, we welcome you every week. But it's truly as flexible or as committed as you and your schedule permits. With the sanitation for our area, with the current culture of our nation and our world with COVID, that is something that our volunteers are on the front line with. We do sanitation of all the materials before our participants arrive that day. We do sanitation during the day and encourage our people to wash hands. Volunteers will be in mass the entire time that we are together. We do have that snack, that coffee, the tea, to where we get a little bit of a mask break, but we do ask that people remask after those times of refreshment. And then with our participants, we know that with the dementia, Alzheimer's, and some of the other diagnosis, that wearing a mask may be difficult for them or something that they're not able to handle. So we're lenient with that, knowing that it might just be an unrealistic expectation for our participant, but for the volunteers, it is required to have the mask on and then to do sanitation. Once again, at bathroom breaks, we need to wash hands. Before meals, after meals, wash hands. Kind of the no-brainer, but still keeping it kind of front and center on our mind. And then after that, we like to get back to the fun side of OASIS and including everyone, and we want to encourage you to contribute your talents. Everyone has something that we can contribute. I always hear people say, I have no talent whatsoever, and can't think of anything they could contribute. But it can be as simple as, did you take a trip? Where did you go? Would you like to share pictures? Would you like to bring in map or brochures from someplace that you went? Did you recently do a garden? Did you do a planting? Would you like to help participants start some seeds? Think of what you do in your world that is your talent. It doesn't mean we're knocking down the door in Broadway. It can be as simple as showing someone how to do a craft. So we welcome contributions. We welcome volunteers to share their talents, to share their stories. We encourage our participants to bring items from home to talk about and share with us. And volunteers can absolutely do the same thing, and we really encourage that. So overall, your role as a volunteer is to engage with the people within OASIS, have fun while you're with us, and be social. And more often than not, we want you to enjoy the time that you are with us. We keep track of your hours. We do volunteer appreciation, and we really do value and treasure our volunteers. So one of the things too, because it may not be perfect every time, is we do a follow-up and listening session with volunteers. So if something didn't go right or you have questions about someone, we review your questions, your concerns, and make sure that you are comfortable in your role and know that we are always here as your support. Myself in the program and on site, and Kelsey with her role on site or as a resource as our community dementia specialist. So supports, as I mentioned, I am the program coordinator for OASIS. I am on site during that respite time at First Free Church in Onalaska. I can help with intake. We can do any questions that people have. I coordinate the schedule for the day. I handle the nutrition and the nutritious snacks that we have offered. And then the crafts and the fun activities that we do each time. Again, if a volunteer has a craft or an idea for something that they think the group could do, I welcome that. That is part of all of us being part of OASIS and making that welcoming place along someone's journey. If it's one person's idea, it can get stagnant fast. But when a lot of people bring energy and ideas to it, I think we have a great chance to have a very active and fluid experience within OASIS. And I think that's what we need, is that ability to change and adapt and to have fun. Community engagement is another goal that Kelsey and I had as we wrote the grants and were visioning what OASIS could grow to be. And community engagement is a very big and attainable goal for our program, and definitely where we want to grow to. Community engagement would be connecting with our community for tasks or responsibilities that maybe some of the program participants could do within OASIS. Maybe it is helping a church with a newsletter. Maybe it is helping a group correlate and coordinate inserts, or doing smaller kind of projects or activities. Again, we want the community to know that we are here and we're wanting to foster relationships with them. And in turn, we want the community to look at us as a possibility for community engagement and working with OASIS in the future, and looking for other opportunities for us to grow and diversify our program.
Okay, and then my role as dementia care specialist. So like I mentioned in the beginning, I am a community resource. I support caregivers. So if there are caregivers in OASIS that maybe could use a little bit of extra support or help, they definitely can be referred back to talk to me. They would just call the ADRC and ask to speak with the dementia care specialist. I also support people with dementia living in the community. And so that was kind of in getting OASIS as a resource in our community. That was kind of under that role. But then I support the community. And so OASIS Respite Program is a part of our community. And so my position develops education and training for volunteers. So a series of other educations that you'll have to participate in as a volunteer to be able to volunteer at OASIS will be a Dementia 101 or Dementia Overview. There'll be some activity engagement and communication tips that I also, if Sarah's looking for, hey, I want to do this type of activity, how can I adapt it to better serve people with dementia? That's something I can provide consultative support for. And then also service improvement or activity modifications that you as volunteers may be needing. And so Sarah's going to talk about the monthly input and planning meetings, but I might be attend some of those and kind of talk through maybe some pitfalls or barriers you're experiencing with a certain individual as it relates to dementia, or perhaps this activity isn't going as well. Might be something that we kind of brainstorm and talk through using my dementia expertise. And then the Aging and Disability Resource Center is a resource for, again, the community. We provide unbiased support and services for aging and elderly or anyone that cares about them. So it might not be dementia specific, but there might be something that ADRC can help the participants or caregivers with in terms of services or resources. And those referrals will most likely come through Sarah. We do have access to public funds, so if people are needing that, but just knowing that the ADRC works with people with dementia and their caregivers, and so we, if appropriate, will refer them to OASIS to attend. But then also, as Sarah mentioned in the mission and vision, this is a stop on their journey. This isn't the first place they've been, and it won't be the last place they've been. There is a time where people might have to transition out of the program, and ADRC can really help with that transition of what other services are out there that would meet that person's need. They might come in, talk to an options counselor about, hey, this is what we're looking for, and they'll present them a platform of options. So just so you're aware of kind of how my role interfaces with OASIS and the ADRC.
Yeah, And part of the monthly input and planning meetings, the first and foremost, we want to hear from our volunteers. And I mentioned this before, that we do want to hear what is working, what isn't working, and supporting our volunteers. It's also supporting our caregivers. You know, maybe there is a niche within our program that we hadn't thought about yet. Another thing with our monthly input and planning meetings is this gives us a chance also to support our volunteers as people transition out of our program. I know for the time that I've been in our program, you get close to these individuals, and you do get, you look forward to seeing them each week. And as they transition out, that may be hard, and we will have some supportive information to help volunteers who may miss someone that has transitioned out of OASIS. So those input meetings are really in support. We're going to offer additional trainings if need be. Always we'll have something fun going on, and report on the number of hours that volunteers have accrued to that point. We're going to be thinking of some cool ways to make some milestones for volunteer hours. And we'll be planning those quarterly to start with, and then move to a more monthly schedule. Again, working with the volunteers and finding out what they need and how to best support them. Right now, when we wrap OASIS, we tend to sit around the table for about 10 minutes and just talk about what happened that day. We meet before OASIS and run through who's joining us that day. We go through the characteristics of the individual, what they enjoy doing when they've been with us before, what do they want to do, what kind of gets them fired up. I should mention this too, when we have an OASIS participant come in for the day, we have a chart that we do that keeps track of what they enjoyed while they were with us. If it was an activity that got them up and moving, is it our creative things that got our brains working? What did they enjoy for snacks? We kind of keep track of that. It helps each week with knowing and recognizing what they like to do and kind of pre-planning before they get there. And then it also helps us in communicating with each other and saying, you know what, this individual really likes that puzzle, or this one really likes to paint. And kind of getting that idea and then sharing that knowledge between volunteers as well. So have a couple supports in there just to help our volunteers feel confident in their role and to be with us for a long time. We like our volunteers, and as we get volunteers matched into OASIS, we really want it to be a beneficial match for you as well. So these input meetings help support you, and it helps us provide you with a very good and rewarding volunteer experience.
So that concludes the introduction. Any final thoughts?
Just, we welcome our OASIS folks. You have discovered us through word of mouth, through website search. We are glad you are joining us. We can't wait to have you participating in our program and making a significant difference in someone's life. That's the one thing I can say every time when we end OASIS, we all smile. We leave feeling elevated because we have had a really good time. Sometimes our folks are able to be with us the whole time. Sometimes they need to leave early because it's too much for them that day. But as a volunteer, you know you have left making a difference, not only for the person that you spent time with, but for that caregiver who got respite. They were able to do something on their day. And we helped fill two people's lives with something positive on the days we have OASIS.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be the best volunteer experience of your life. And
Yep.
as you go through some of the trainings with me, you'll have a bigger, better picture of just how greatly needed this is and just how big of a deal this is. So I thank you for making this an option for people in our community.
Yes. And thanks for joining OASIS.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.